Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Power Half Hour Unstoppable Business Owner. I'm your host, Dorothy Odell, and I am the founder of Unstoppable Overcomers Productions, where we are a full-service media agency. You're looking to do anything media, just get a hold of us either at www.unstoppableovercomers.com or simply send us an email at grahamdorothy408@gmail.com. I have the distinct pleasure. This woman is absolutely fun, absolutely amazing. Kristin Crockett. I'm going to put you on the other side.
All right. It's a
Welcome
better
to
hair
the show.
side.
It's funny because I just feel like we just saw each other yesterday.
I think we did.
I did. Yes, we did. Hey, Tim, how's it going? Welcome to the show. So, Kristin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My company is Courageous Destiny. So I help women business owners and entrepreneurs build a business and life they love. So I love to help people develop really amazing mindsets to make success easy for them. And also to help them, get past some obstacles that they might not even realize they have. And then once they do, they can go really quickly toward their success. So I call that Courageous Destiny.
Courageous Destiny.
Which is everything they want.
Everything. It's just on the other side of fear.
Yes, exactly.
Just on the other side. Quit being fearful and just jump over.
Or be fearful. It's okay to be fearful. I always say it's okay to be fearful. Just know how to put it in your pocket and take action anyway. And learn how to do that. Like we can train ourselves to do things like that. And so instead of making fear mean stop, make it mean go.
Love that.
You better go.
Better go. Better go. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to do that?
So, about 11 years ago now, I hired my first coach. So I was working in corporate America, and I was in technology sales for a very long time. I was very successful, but I got to a point in my career. So I had, at the time that I hired my first coach, I had 5-year-old triplets.
Oh my.
So I was a little stressed out in corporate America.
A little bit.
When one got sick, they all got sick. There was never like one day out for a sniffle. It was 5 days out for a sniffle, or we would go every other day, or I'd work a half day, and my ex-husband now, right, would work the other half day. So I got to the point in my life where I was just feeling really, really stuck. I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I'm not happy. I don't even know why. And I ended up talking to a friend. I ended up complaining to the right person who actually wanted me to do something about it. And she told me her brother was a coach. And long story short, I talked to him and liked what he said. And I ended up hiring him. In the first 3 months of coaching, I had tripled my sales. I had lost 30 pounds. And I went, holy, you know what? This is amazing. I need to help people do this. This is so much better than selling computer hardware, which is what I was doing.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah, that's when Courageous Destiny was born.
Okay, so I would say the Courageous Destiny started when you had triplets, because let's talk about that for a second. Holy cow, I couldn't imagine.
Very true. Very true. So my ex and I, we worked for 7 years to be able to have a family. We had a really rough time having a family. And then it was our fourth, I'm very open about these things. So it's our fourth IVF treatment. And then I got, I always said I got a baby for every time I was pregnant, which I'm very blessed. So I just got them all at once instead of spread out.
Get it one and done, right? Get over the trauma of that.
Yes.
you just have 3 beautiful bundles for the rest of your life. Love it.
We're 17 now. So.
Well, there you go. You're almost
done. One more year. I can say I made it. That's when the real work starts. So,
Well, no, that's when they probably realized that, wait, mom wasn't wrong all along, and start giving you kudos and help around the house is what's probably will happen.
at least a few of them. No, I think they're great kids. I'm very, very blessed to have them. They're very helpful. And, it's just with the triplets, what I realized is I couldn't be one of the reasons why I was stuck is I felt like I didn't have any options. I felt like if I were to make it in corporate America, or if I'm in corporate America, how could I possibly leave the paycheck? How could I leave anything secure? I have triplets. And I remember my coach at the time said to me, he goes, so the people that you love the most in this world are going to be the reasons why you won't have what you want in life. And then that's your example. That's the example that you're setting for them. And I'm like, ouch.
Oh, that would have like just stuck.
It just stuck with me. It just changed everything for me. I'm like, do I want them to have a life, under the neon lights because they have to do that? Or do I want them to be able to have a life? Do I want them to be able to have the job that they don't have to vacation from? Do I want them to own their own business? Do I want them to have, an optimal amount of options instead of, for me, I felt like there was one way or no way. And over time, I started to realize that was just programming in my mind that I had to do that.
Yeah.
And once I started seeing a pathway, so I did eventually hire my coach, and then he became a mentor, and I hired other mentors along the way. And I learned how to, grow a coaching business. I learned how to coach really well. I dived into self-development and different seminars, went through Landmark Worldwide through their curriculum for living, and just anything I could read, I started reading to grow. I started to really question and push myself to things that I never thought I could do. And over the years, that's equated to me, really transforming my personal life. I did end up getting a divorce, and now I'm living with the love of my life. It ended up in me. It ended up, I have 2 podcasts now. Awesome. I don't have 3. I'm not cool like Dorothy, but I've got 2. The Courageous Destiny, Build a Business and Life You Love, and Courageous Destiny Guided Moments.
I love that. Where can people find your podcast?
They can find my podcast on Spotify and Apple.
I love that. I love that. Well, that you have 2 now, but that doesn't mean that you can't have another one later, or maybe you'll have one with the co-host at one point.
Maybe. I really have a lot of fun with it. And I love having conversations like these because you never know who's listening or who could, take a nugget and run with it. I love to be an example for people that you can have the things in life you want. And your first step in getting what you want is to think about what you want. And to have the courage to write it down on paper and to start thinking about what you want instead of thinking about what you don't want all the time, which is really how a lot of us are programmed. And, the people that are, billionaires out there in the world, incredibly successful entrepreneurs, or have achieved a lot of those kinds of successes, they're not sitting around thinking about what they don't want. They might be in other areas of life, don't get me wrong. So it doesn't mean that their life is perfect.
Right.
But that's why I always say it's build a business and life you love. Because if, to me, it should be about the whole thing.
Yes.
I've helped many people advance their sales over the years and take giant leaps forward in sales. And they can do that in a pretty short period of time. But if they leave their life behind them, eventually you'll have to stop everything you're doing to clean up the messes in your life.
Mhm.
And you won't feel that fulfilled if an area of life that's really important to you isn't growing.
Mhm.
So part of what I do, well, really what I do in Courageous Destiny is I want to take the whole life with them. I want them to be able to check out the whole enchilada.
Right. Don't just get the chips, you get the whole enchilada
Exactly. With the salsa.
with the sauce. Make it spicy.
Yeah,
You
make
only
it
got one
spicy,
life to
make it
live.
good. Plus, if you're gonna think about what you want, just give it a shot. Give it a try. Make it exciting. Make it what you really want. What gets you up in the morning thinking about it.
Oh, I love that. I love that you said that. So what was three things that you've had to overcome in business to get to where you're at today?
Well, I think the biggest thing is my mind when it came to I need to have that paycheck because what if I lost my house? Or what if I didn't have enough money for me and the triplets to eat? Or what if, and then like I said, you want to think about what you want. Well, good luck when you are in a state of survival. So it was learning how to thrive in my mindset, even in a state of lack, even with a lot of stuff going on that really was terrifying. I mean, I did for a time, move in over the last 12 years. I have solely been coaching. I mean, that's
Wow.
what I did. When I left out of corporate America, I left an over 300,000 plus career for one $200 client, and that was the leap. So in taking that leap, I had to learn how to move. And I had to learn how to not let fear paralyze me. And that's what I coach people to do today. But I have a lot of practice, I'll tell you that much. And that's why I can do it.
Right.
I was crazy enough to make the leap.
There we go. And that's what it takes, right? It takes that leap of faith to say, okay, and
Okay, so
you just
yeah, and you asked me for three things. So I would say there was that. Not quitting. Not quitting. It would be really easy. I had really great experience to go back into sales where I came from. That would have been easy. It would have given me a solution to my pain really easily sometimes, but not quitting. And
Mhm.
I think the third thing was my emotions. My emotions when everything in your life is changing, your emotions kind of give you warning signals in that fight or flight, and then learning how to shift them into something that's more productive.
Mhm.
And I learned how to shift my emotions from feeling, states of fear and defeat and all of those things and turn them into gratitude. Usually gratitude worked the best.
Mhm.
Because all I had to
Mhm.
do is look at one of my kids and go, if I do nothing else on earth, I did this. That's pretty cool.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. I love that. What's your favorite thing to do in your business, like to coach on?
Oh gosh. I think it can be coaching on anything, but it's when somebody really is ready to go and they're just engaged. I have a client today that's texting me in real time. She's a chiropractor, and she left her associateship to open up her own office, and it's in Atlanta, in
Oh,
like in like a sports complex. She rented a room, and then she found some coverage work, and she's going for she's like, I'm doing it, I'm signing my animal chiropractic certification, I want to get that certified. And I'm hearing from her like real time with each step that she's doing, and she's asking for, hey, how should I present this, or what are some other things I could do? So you get somebody like that that's engaged, I always say I'm looking for her. It's a heartfelt entrepreneurial woman ready to run. And if I get her, like I'm golden. Like that's my favorite thing to coach. And it doesn't matter. It is fun to coach people though on finding the next love of their lives because that's just fun. But
don't put pressure on yourself. This is a tip. The moment you put pressure that you want to find that guy or that woman, it will happen.
Exactly. And I always say the best way to find a life partner is to figure out everything that you want in that partner. Have a really great list running. And now that's your list on how you want to work on you because you attract who you are. So that's the best way. And that's the best way to attract your ideal client in sales too. If you just, who is my ideal client? Who do I want to work with? I want them to show up. I want them to be really engaged. I want them to have really high integrity. If my integrity sucks, if I'm not an example of my ideal client, I won't attract them.
That's right.
So that's my favorite.
I look. Oh, okay. So you had me. I thought of the time that I had wrote a petition out of the guy that I wanted. Right.
Yeah.
It was tall, dark, good looking. The classic first three that you gotta have. Someone who has a heart that's willing to help other people. Things like that. Well, I'm not tall, and I'm not dark. So I guess, but my husband,
we have dark hair.
my husband's 6'1". He is good looking, and he's not dark. So
okay, I will admit you seem to have thrown a loophole into my formula. But I bet the characteristics that he has are ones that you thought about. Like I do,
yes.
I focused a lot on characteristics, though I did want the tall, dark, and handsome too, and I got it. And I'm not tall, dark, and handsome. So
it's just funny. That was like 8 years ago that I wrote that out, and so that was all 40. That was 8 years ago. I was 40 years old. Wrote it all down. Stuck it, put it away, and I think I still have that piece of paper in my drawer.
Oh, that'd be fun to look at. And then what I think is really cool, I have my list, and I dated for about a year. It was about a year, and I pulled off all these. I would one would leave, and I'm like, okay, they need to have this too. Like, just tell me the truth. Please don't ghost me. Like, I hate it when people ghost. I never understood that. Like, you go on a date, it was like so awesome, and then you get you don't, and it was like crickets.
Mm-hmm.
I had that happen a few times, which I thought was so rude. And then kind of look in the mirror, and you're like, was I crazy? Like maybe I don't know, but. I got a really big list going based off of those. I called them little mini experiments every date that I went on, and got quite a list going. And then there came the guy.
Well, yes, because in order to get what you want, you have to know what you don't want and what you're willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with. It's funny because I had this conversation with my aunt yesterday or the day before, whatever day it was, just this week anyways. And she's like, what somebody might put up with, she wouldn't, but then there's some people that wouldn't put up with what she puts up with.
Right.
Love my uncle, love him to death, but there's, and I'm not saying she said anything bad about him, but she's just like, in relationships, we're willing to deal with different things. So, I love that you said that, because that second time I've heard it this week.
Yeah, it's and I think too, when you find that person, you did the action, you wrote down the petition, right? I did the action, I did the experiments, I did the work, and then he came along. It wasn't really luck.
That's true.
I was out there doing the work. I was on the sites.
Your first argument, you did attract him. He's exactly what you asked for.
Yeah.
Remember that in an argument with each other.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So, what would you say is the 3 things you help your clients overcome?
Well, definitely. So I help a lot of people make a transition or a big transition in their life. So maybe they're going from corporate America and they're moving on to entrepreneur, and they need to monetize, and they need to monetize enough to replace their income. So that's a big challenge that I help people with, right? How do I replace my income? How do I make it so that I can live off the money and then trust myself enough that I don't need to have the traditional 9 to 5 and the paycheck coming in. So that's a big challenge that I help people with. Another challenge that I help people with is keeping their vibe high when they're going into their courageous destiny. I always tell people we're off-roading. We're getting into a Jeep. Your life is like getting into a Jeep, and there's going to be a lot of bumps. And sometimes we're going to have to pull over. We're going to have to make some repairs, and then we can get back on the road. But you can start to look at that as an adventure, and you can start to look at that as even fun. I'm like, if life wasn't off-roading, if life didn't have its twists and turns, it would just be boring, and we'd all be a bunch of, I'll probably date myself here, but Stepford wives, where we, like, are these robots that spit out money like out of our house. Like,
can you get me one of those for Christmas?
I know, right? I just never forget that scene in that silly movie.
The Jetsons.
Yeah, I'm like, life isn't meant to be perfect. So there's a lot to coach on that, and a lot to coach people. The third thing, and I would say this is really related to sales, but really in a lot of areas of life, is the fear of the unknown, right? They've never been an entrepreneur before. And they want to understand that the effort that they're putting in is going to equate to a result. But it's a bit of a trap, because we need to run experiments to know that. We need to be able to talk to a lot of people. We need to be able to connect to a lot of people. So there's not like a guarantee that when you go to a networking event, you're going to walk out with an order.
Right.
And you want to be able to be really present with people so that it's not about you, it's about them and the value of that product or service that you provide. So, that's a big challenge for people, because they want to make a shift from corporate America, or they want to make a shift from their 9 to 5, but there's nothing guaranteed.
Right.
So I coach them into what I call inertia, right? Things in motion stay in motion. So let's get in a lot of inertia going in the direction of the sale of that product or service that you sell, and detach from whether or not it's going to work, but let's create enough of inertia so that we can tell what does work and what doesn't work. Because like you said, you don't know what you don't know, but you got to be moving that way. And if you don't move that way, then you're going to stay in the same place, or you might have little increments of moving forward. But if you create a lot of inertia, you'll move fast. You'll meet the people you need to meet. You'll get fast forward buttons along the way, but you got to stay in motion.
Right. Absolutely. Staying in motion is critical. Because if you're not doing anything, you can't expect the universe to just provide it for you. Right.
No. And when you're upset or you're afraid, what fear does a lot of the times is it causes stagnation. So a lot of people, like, one of the number one ways fear shows up, it doesn't necessarily show up like I'm terrified. Oh my gosh, I'm terrified. It kind of shows up like procrastination. It shows up like delay. It shows up like, it really can get under the radar for most people, where they don't even identify with it as fear.
Right. Yeah. And to be aware, I think awareness is the first step. Once you're aware of it, then you can do something about it. Because you're right. A lot of people just go into procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I'm a high functioning procrastinator.
Well, and it's I'm not saying it's always fear, but it could be. And sometimes it's not conscious fear, but
Yeah.
unconscious mind stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I have a client who, you know, we're talking and she's like, you know, her success, like a lot of people think by the time I don't have enough time for my family now. If I get really successful, then
Mhm.
I'm going to be in big trouble. So unconsciously, they'll procrastinate or stop themselves from taking action to generate the kind of results they want because they think they'll need to give up something really important in their life. And that's
Mhm.
why it's so important to be working on all areas of life that are important to you.
Mhm.
Have at least something. You know, you
Right.
can have a hyper focus in one area, but you still want to bring along those other areas of life that are important to you. And
Right.
because otherwise our egos can go stop. You know.
Yeah. There's a James something or other wrote the Atomic Habit, and since I
Yeah.
read that book, was like a game changer. It's like even if you do 1%
Yeah.
better than you did the day before, it's something. It's action in motion towards your goals.
Yeah, it's inertia. It's inertia. I remember reading that book too, and it doesn't have to be really big actions.
Mhm.
That's the other thing. Like sometimes people think, well, I want to make this big goal happen, so I got to make this big action happen. And it's not the big actions. Like it's cool to have some, I call like a big action might be me speaking in front of a room full of people or getting, then I'm putting a lot of my eggs in that basket. I do that today and I think those are really great. But really it's the follow-up. It's
Mhm.
the, going out and meeting people. It's the daily actions. I always say little and big that'll get you where you want to go. And they're all important.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact, the little actions are even more important because if you really don't feel like doing something, but at least it doesn't feel so big, you'll be more likely to do it.
Mhm. Mhm. So, what would your advice be if somebody came to you and said, they didn't like their 9 to 5, but they didn't have a nest egg set aside? Would you still tell them to like jump onto that entrepreneurial wagon, or what kind of advice would you give to them? Or
Well,
depends
I
on the
don't I
person.
don't ever give some of the advice that what would feel comfortable for them for their finances.
Mhm.
I didn't have a nest egg, I'll tell you that much when I made the leap. My ex was like kicking and screaming. He's like, "Oh!" But but I will tell you, I'm like, we think that we need all of this security and sometimes it's in alignment for us to have that security. But then
Mhm.
I'd want them to define what is it that would make you, what do you need to know about you that allows you to make that leap?
Right.
So one of the women that I'm coaching, she's like, well, I want to have this much in the bank account. I want to have a consecutive income 3 months in a row.
Mhm.
I want, and she laid out exactly what she wanted. I'm like, great. Well, that's the first part of our courageous destiny. That's what we're looking for.
Right.
That's our work together. That's like what is going to be tangible from the work that we do together. And that's our measuring point.
Right.
So I would encourage somebody to, as a coach, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I don't have an agenda. But
Mhm.
what I am here to do is say, well, whatever it is, let's get it out so that you can see it.
Mhm.
And so it's not a someday, one day kind of thing. Well,
Right.
someday I'll make enough money. I'll have enough money in the bank that I can make the leap. Well, there's nothing real about that.
Right.
But if you say, if I have 3 months consecutive income, I've made this much money, it's in my bank, I have real clarity and a business plan on what I'm going to do. I know what actions, generally speaking, generate income for me.
Mhm.
I have enough to know now that I can run.
I love that. I love that. Because some coaches are like, "Oh, just take the leap." Meanwhile, then you're like, "Oh shit!" Right? Then the hydro bill comes in, and then you're already freaking.
Yeah, no, I think that not all coaches coach the same, but for me, I like to think of myself as a guide.
Mhm.
So I also have different levels of programs. I have Build a Business in Life You Love group coaching. It's a couple $100 a month. It's a year-long program for people. I like that program because anybody can be in it. It's not so high. And then I also do my private coaching, which is, yeah, that's definitely more of an investment. But if they really want to go for it, if I don't feel the energy of somebody really is like, I'm ready to go for this and I want to make sure I go get them now, I'm not going to take them on as a private client. I would never tell somebody, hey, make the leap out of corporate America now. You got this. No, they got to come to that. They have to come to that confidence themselves. But I would give them the advice of, if they are going to make the leap, find that thing they're not willing to quit on, that thing that really opens up their heart, that thing that gets them going, that makes them breathe. I made the leap, even beforehand, because I really felt like this is why God put me on this earth and this is what I'm supposed to do. And I can't unsee this thing that I'm supposed to do now.
Right. Wow. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I can't believe we're past the half hour already.
No.
Yes. We'll have to have you come back and
I'd
for a
be
part
honored.
two. For a part two. But thank you for our guests for joining us tonight. And thank you so much, Kristin, for joining us and sharing your wisdom and your passion. You can tell that it exudes out of you. That you definitely love what you're doing and you definitely love helping people. So it's an
Thank
honor
you.
to have you on here because, I don't see that passion in a lot of people.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I'm glad that you see that. And that's what keeps me going. Like, I knew I couldn't quit and I haven't quit. And it's been 12 years and I've been through many ups and downs on this journey. Believe me, I've been off-roading and I've been on mini bikes and dirt roads and all kinds of stuff over these last 11 years. But I keep going. So to any entrepreneur out there, if that's what they really want, just make sure it's something that you're not going to quit on and that fulfills you. And then the job that you're moving to is healing. Why wouldn't you want to spend a ton of time working on it? It's something that you love.
Right.
And so
Find the life you love.
yes.
Instead
Yes.
of one that you have to escape from, for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Definitely lots of pearls of wisdom. Is there any last thing that you want to leave our guests with?
I just want to leave your guests with, it's never too late to start. And it's never too early to start. Just start. The only time we have is now. So, and researching and journaling and doing little things is starting. It doesn't have to be in a big event. You don't have to tell people about it. You can keep it close to you too. Start telling people about it, then they often will try to talk you out of it. But you can, or judge it or what have you. But, just start. Just start.
I absolutely love that. Just start, just do it.
Yep.
Nikes, just do it. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And remember, guys, go check out our YouTube channel, subscribe. And if you have Roku, we are on there. Check us out at Unstoppable Overcomers. Share with your friends. Get the word out about these amazing business owners out there that are just trying to make a difference in the world. Be unstoppable in all that you do. And same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.